Sal and George Washington and Foreman like they should have. They went on the road and won in Rhode Island, which was a pretty impressive win. They beat Rhode Island twice, actually. They lost to St. Bonaventure and VCU. Outside the conference, they took care of Virginia Tech. They went into Temple and won, which is a good win. Princeton was a solid win also. They played decent against Villanova and Florida, lost those two, but solid team. This Dayton Flyer team, though, they are good. As far as betting on this game, I would love to take St. Joe's in this game, but, I mean, the smart money would be to take the better team in Dayton, but St. Joe's is going to be fired up. Personally, I don't know if I would bet this game, honestly, but I just wanted to bring it up because it's definitely one you should be watching. So, we'll see. We'll see how it goes, but I would definitely tune into this one. It's going to be a good one. It's a lot of good ones. I mean, we could talk about North Carolina and Duke. The big mismatch, a lot of people like the points in this one. It's a huge mismatch. What's it up to, 7.5 or something? I'm not even sure. But if you look at the numbers are ridiculous, honestly. You look at one of the third worst in the entire country as far as allowing teams to score in the paint is Duke. Worst in the ACC, third worst in the country against the North Carolina team that's the best in the ACC and one of the tops in the country in scoring in the paint. I mean, you can't get much bigger of a mismatch than that. But it is Duke, North Carolina. The rivalry is there. You look back, it's usually a 10-point game or closer, despite the way the direction of the teams are going. This is one where you got a North Carolina team who hasn't been playing their best basketball. They really haven't. And Duke, I haven't been high on Duke all year. They're coming off of a pretty lucky but big win against Virginia, and they sort of got a little momentum going. They really had. I mean, they beat Louisville and Virginia in back-to-back games. They really need some wins down the stretch here, as now they have Louisville, Virginia, which they just both won. Now they got to go to North Carolina, to Louisville, play Florida State, Pittsburgh, Wake, and then close with North Carolina. Not an easy run. You look at North Carolina, like I mentioned, coming off a pretty big win against Pittsburgh, but honestly, they went to BC and they did not look good. They almost got picked off by one of the worst teams in the country. And before that, they lost to Notre Dame and Louisville. So frankly, they weren't playing great. They did come around with a pretty decent win in Pitt. They shot 60%. Should be some points in this one. I'm hesitant to lay the 7.5 with UNC. On paper, if you didn't tell me what the school names were, and I looked at this game on paper, I'd lay the 7.5. All right, but there has to be a factor when you're looking and you're handicapping these games at a rivalry, and frankly, you see it all the time. This weekend, Northern Iowa goes in 15-point favorites. We were on them, right? I said, watch out. It's a big rivalry. They went in there and snipped them. If Duke wants to make a statement and solidify themselves in the tournament this year, this is a game they got to win. It's a game they got to win. Someone just asked me about a game that I'll get on. Fake Fam Tracker. You want to talk about the Wyoming game? All right, we can talk about that one. Fresno going into Wyoming. Yeah, this is an interesting one. This Wyoming team has been fucking up and down for me. Same thing with Fresno. Fresno 16-9, playing well. Last time they played, I think it was like almost a month ago to the day, Fresno went at home, covered 71-60, just stayed under the number of 134, and you get a little higher number this time. You look at the shooting percentages in that game. Wyoming shot 34%, committed 11 turnovers, only had one offensive rebound the entire game to Fresno's 10. That's huge. 10. Out rebounded them on the boards on the offensive side, 10-1. They only shot 41% themselves. They only shot 27% from three. Fresno, that is. This is an elevation game, but I think Fresno should win this game. I know Wyoming is pretty banged up. They have a couple guys that should play tonight, but they're banged up, frankly. They got drubbed at Boise State, but they are at home where they do play well. People struggle coming here in elevation. Boise and Nevada did tip them off, but it seems when they go up in class, they don't do so well. You look at Fresno State on the other side. Also, a lot of key injuries for them. Especially now, I guess Jones is downgraded to expected to miss. You got basically their whole front line is actually doubtful for this game with an illness or a wrist. One's undisclosed. Because of the injuries, my friend, I'd probably stay away from this one, to be honest with you. There's just too much unknown there. Where they did out-rebound them 10-1 on the offensive boards, but if you're going to tell me that two forwards and a center are going to miss this game, they're starting forward, and it seemed like the offensive rebounds were a key in that win, I'd be very skeptical of taking Fresno, actually, now that I look at that. So I'd be careful with that one. Originally, when I first looked, they said they were probable, but now I'm seeing doubtful. So be careful of that one. It's another one we want to get into. How about USC? USC is a tricky team as of late. Colorado comes rolling in. USC 8.5-point favorites at home. This year at home, in this same spot, they're 4-0. 4-0 ATS. In all home games, they're 11-3 ATS. They haven't lost at home all year. 14-0, outscoring their opponents by close than 20 points a game. Colorado, on the other hand, as an underdog this year, 2-6 straight up, 4-4 ATS. Got absolutely drubbed when they were a big road dog. 5-6 on the road, scoring less than 70 points, being outscored by 4 points on the road altogether. Colorado comes off of 2 big wins at home, but they do have Josh Scott, who's questionable tonight. The last 2 games on the road didn't go too well, although they gave Oregon State some bit of a fight. But, young teams on the road I don't trust, especially in the Pac-12 where home teams have won 2/3 of their games this year. Literally. Like 65% of the games the home teams have won. It is tough to go on the road. Always has been, though. Big trips up to Washington, to Oregon. You go out into the mountain states, play 2 games in elevation. You go down to Arizona. It's not easy. Not easy at all. I think what was their last road win? At Washington State, yeah. So, it was Washington State. Let's put things in perspective there. So, this is the first one. I like USC. I like laying the points here. Probably just going to be a free play, but we shall see. What's up, everybody? Buzz, what's up, my friend? Jeremy, how we doing? Super exciting news. I know you've all been hanging for it. Hi, everyone. Super exciting news. I know you've all been hanging for it. Hanging out for. What is it? Aussie Rules football preseason game starts today. Nice. There you go, Buzz. All right. Little Aussie Rules preseason. That's almost as exciting as the NBA trade deadline. Let's see. Back to some games here. What are some other good ones? Syracuse, Louisville. I think I'm gonna have a play in that. Well, how about Providence and Xavier? How can I not talk about this game, right? Two teams that I've been pretty bullish on as of late, right? I've been high on Xavier all year. I like Providence. Providence is almost a 2-trick pony, though. Between Dunn and Ben Thiel, who Ben Thiel should probably get most improved player in the league in college basketball this year. He'll be a top lottery pick next year. But he's been hurt. He's been struggling with an ankle injury for a while now. You look at Xavier. When they step up in competition, they're 4-1 against top 25. But you look at Providence, they've beaten 4 of their 7 ranked opponents they've faced, including Butler and Villanova. Xavier is going to win this game. They're favored by 8, though. Providence will like to slow it down, although on the road they don't have as much success. The overs are a big trend on the road with them. And they're coming. since Bentel's been hurt, no one else can score the ball for them. They're going to struggle to score in this one. Xavier, back home after going out on the road for a tough road trip. I don't care what anybody says, but when you go to Creighton and Butler back-to-back games, those are not two easy places to play. They got caught in Creighton, which I talked about for a few weeks leading up to that game, that was a tough spot for them. What do? They turn around, go into Butler, and blow the fucking doors off of them. They respond very well coming off of a loss. They do. They did it against Georgetown, where they had Seton Hall on deck, and they came in and they beat them. They did it to Butler twice. They went in and lost a disappointing game to Villanova. Next game, they had Butler, blew the doors off of them. Last game, 75-68. They win this one, shooting 50%. Providence only shooting 31% in that game. To dig into that one a little more, you say 75-68, one team shot 50, one team shot 31. Well, there you go. But, Xavier had 20 turnovers. Providence also had 70 shots to Xavier's 59 shots. But the 20 turnovers really affected, and Providence banged them on the boards. This was with a healthy Bentel. So I believe he went off in that game, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, though, but I think he had a pretty big game. But I like Xavier in this one. They should roll. It's a big spot for them. Jeremy, how do I feel about Alabama LSU? That also, I think, is going to be the other client play for the day, bud. Actually, we'll talk about it because I'm not sure. And if I give out a client play, I give out a client play. At this point, I don't care. And Jeremy, kudos to you, because honestly, I've ignored the SEC because it's been so topsy-turvy and who knows, but you're always one pumping, roll tide, pumping your Alabama team. And, it's get me. I've kept an eye on them because of it, because I always see your messages about it, and they're playing well. They just went into Florida. It was a huge win. To win back-to-back games on the road is not easy. I couldn't tell you, they did do it in Southern Miss and Clemson earlier this year, but it's tough. Now you're going into LSU. The other road trip where they stepped up against South Carolina, they sort of got drubbed out of the building. They lost to LSU by 2 points. LSU shot 50% in that game, and Alabama only shot like 42%. So let's look at that. What was the case in that game? So you look at that one, 72-70 in Alabama. Bama was up 6 at the half. Both of them shot about 58, 59 shots. LSU made more. But Alabama, 10 of 25 from 3. They took more three-pointers. As far as turnovers and rebounds, everything was pretty much the same. You look at LSU. LSU's a pretty streaky team. Do they blow a lot of people out? Not really. You look at the Texas A&M game, they win by 5. They went into Auburn and blew them out. Okay. 4-point game against Georgia, the 2-point game against Bama that we talk about, 2-point game against Arkansas, 9-point game against Ole Miss, 8-point game. So, point being, they play a lot of close games. I would tend to lean grabbing the points here with Alabama. I think they're playing well. But, a little hesitant still. Like I said, the SEC's all over the place. It is a pretty good revenge factor. Going on the road, getting a win in LSU is one thing. I want the 8 points. If I'm going to bet this one, I would lean grabbing the 8 in this one, to be honest with you. Get Simmons in foul trouble and they have no chance. To a point. They're coming along, but I know what you're saying. And Alabama's the perfect team to do that. But the problem with that is Simmons isn't always down low for you to just drive against. But, they can make him play down low. But, yeah, you're right. Alabama's really good at penetrating, so it's a good angle. I'm not sure what Simmons' numbers looked like in the last game, but I could see where you're going with that one. Let's talk about George Washington laying 2 on the road against Duquesne. George Washington 18-7, Duquesne 15-10 straight up. Look at this George Washington team as a road favorite, first time this year. But usually when they go up against bad defensive teams that allow 77 points or more. 14-2 ATS. Okay, 2-0 this year, 4-0 last year, and since '97, 14.